Welcome to On the Money. I'm Rob Herdig. I'm here with my good friend Ryan Wheelis. Ryan, how are we doing today?
Man, I'm doing great. Looking forward to a great show, folks. We got a lot of very valuable content for you. You're going to get a lot out of this, so stay tuned.
Man, I'm excited about today's show. I'm a little confused, though. At the top of the page here, you have written, the greatest trick ever played. I'm confused. I'm intrigued, though, a little bit. What exactly are we talking about here?
It's, in the old days, Rob, you worked for a company for 30 or 40 years, and you retired. You got a gold watch, and you got a pension.
Right.
And that pension replaced 80% of your paycheck. And then a few years later, you got onto Social Security. And while you were getting that word on Social Security, you got a subsidy, right? And basically, your income was replaced once you retired.
Right.
And the interesting thing is very few people had money in the stock market.
You look at the volume of the stock market prior to, 1978, 79, and it's almost nothing, correct?
It's almost nothing. Well, if you look from the year 1978 to the year 2000, the return of the stock market was over 1,000%.
Wow.
That is 3 times any 20-year history prior to 1978 to really 1980 to the year 2000. And so what you had is all of a sudden all these dollars are chasing these stocks in the market, and we had a massive melt up. And people just thought, hey, this is the way things are now, right? But it was a massive shift away from the old way of doing things to where your company did the investments for you, right?
Right.
They managed the pension fund.
Yeah.
You didn't have to worry about it. You got mailbox money for the rest of your life as long as you had breath in your body.
Right.
And that was it. It was so simple back in the days.
You know what's interesting about that is when you look at that time in history, it was almost impossible to fail at retirement, right?
It really was. I mean, you couldn't fail, right? You had a guaranteed source of income. It was there regardless of what happened with the economy, the stock market, interest rates, all of which directly impact people today because the majority of their assets is inside this thing called the 401k.
So these employers lobbied to Congress, right? Lobbied to the representative and said, hey, we want you to take the responsibility of retirement off of our shoulders and put it on the employees' shoulders, right? That sounds like a dirty trick. I see where you're coming from, but I think there's more, right?
There's more to it, though.
Let's hear it.
Right? Because what's happened is we've been taught to defer taxes.
Right.
So put your money into this 401k and let's defer, right? So you've got these dollars going in. You get a tax deduction now. Well, most of us live in the now, right?
Right.
So that tax deduction today is awesome, okay? And so the money goes in, it's not been taxed. It grows tax-free during the growth period.
Right.
But when you retire, you have to fund your own retirement. You are now responsible, folks, for funding your own retirement, okay? And to do that, we take distributions out of our 401k. And every single one of those dollars that you pull out of that 401k is 100% taxable.
Right, and what you're saying is we're playing a game where we don't even know what the rules are going to be, right? Everybody walks around with this number in their head of what they need to retire, right?
That's right.
There's commercials that show it, right? People are walking around, they've got the $1 million over their head, but what have they not done? They haven't done the math, right? And they don't know what the tax rates are going to be down the road. So what you're saying, that is a filthy trick, man. It's dirty.
It's dirty because now your money is locked away inside this 401k, and to get it out, you got to pay taxes on it. And we don't know what tax rates are going to be in the future. Our country's $30 trillion and climbing. By the end of the show, it might be $31 trillion.
Hey, you look at the way we're spending money in Washington, it reminds me of a company that's going bankrupt, and the executives are using their credit cards as fast as they can. They're like, what can we get right now?
Exactly.
I mean, it's what's going on. And people, I hate to say it, but I've got a pretty good perspective. I work with practices like yours all over the country, and it seems like even with all the stuff that we're facing right now, people kind of had their heads in the sand.
There's no question about it, Rob. We see it so often, and it's such a big deal because here's an example. What people don't, this is how bad it is. Think about the 401k you have. Let's say you've got $1 million.
Yeah.
How much of that 401k is actually yours?
You've got a business partner. He wears a big red, white, and blue hat. He looks like he's friendly, right? He looks like he's your friend.
And
he's coming to take your money, right?
He's very bad at business, Rob. Very bad.
He's the worst businessman there is.
I mean, nobody would want this guy as a business partner, folks. Nobody. And it's your Uncle Sam. It's the government.
What blows my mind is people are relying on the advice they get from the government that's creating the problems, right? Hey, inflation's not bad. No, it is bad. Now you have taxes. You have all these things happening where you're losing control over your assets, right?
Rob, here's what's even worse, and this is one of the most, taxes in general are one of the most overlooked things when it comes to retirement planning that we see. And it's amazing how people come into our office and they've been working with an advisor they trust for years. And I go, where's your tax plan? Where's your Roth conversion plan? How are we going to disinherit Uncle Sam from your estate?
I like that, disinherit Uncle Sam.
Yeah,
that's
right.
Good.
So and make sure your heirs get the money and not him. And they're like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
I haven't done this planning. I'm like, you got to be kidding me, because here's what's really crazy. When you have a husband and wife team, and one of the spouses dies, the remaining spouse can file a joint tax return for 12 months.
Yeah.
After which, that spouse, likely the wife, by the way, statistically, has to start filing a single filer tax return. That increases the taxes on her income,
Yeah.
her Social Security, can cause her Medicare premiums to go up, and can even create Medicare surcharges.
That's after half your income's gone away, right?
That's exactly right. Half your, because you lose a Social Security benefit too.
It's insane. People don't understand how this compounds and what it really does to your retirement dreams. So you could go from a position of being able to thrive in retirement, which is what you help people do, to a position to where you're just surviving.
Well, think about this, Rob. That's a variable, right?
Yeah.
Meaning that position of being able to retire and not being able to retire, not sustain the lifestyle you want to live in retirement, it can change based on what they do in Congress.
Right.
So
it's a legislative risk, right? People talk about all these
massive
other risks in
political-
retirement, but it's a legislative risk that you have no control over.
Zero.
Well, you and I were talking, our kids, we both have kids, and I've got a bunch. You've got 2 little ones, and my kids like to play board games, and we were talking, would your kids play a board game if you said, hey, I'll tell you the rules at the end of the game, and by the way, I get to change the rules whenever I see fit. Would they do that?
No, never, not in a million years. Right?
It's insane.
But that's what's happening with the 401k and the law and the IRS tax code and the law changes.
What I worry about with our industry is, if you're a doctor, medical terms mean the same thing across the board. If you're an attorney, legal terms, legal definitions mean the same thing from here to California to anywhere. But with our business, risk doesn't mean the same thing everywhere. Having a plan doesn't mean the same thing everywhere. In a time like this, I think it's important that we get a second opinion. I mean, would you agree with that?
Well, we ask the viewers at home all the time, Rob, do you have enough confidence in your current financial plan or your current financial advisor to seek a second opinion? And the answer to that question is absolutely yes.
Yeah.
And if it's no, you need help.
Either way, you should have it looked at.
That's exactly right.
I mean, we've had a 10-year period of return after return. We have this false sense of confidence, and it's, I think it's maybe leading people astray a little bit. What do you think?
I think it is. And Rob, I'm a seasoned aviator. I fly a lot of airplanes and been doing it a long time. And one of the quickest things that can kill you in an aircraft is complacency.
Right.
And that's what's happened over the last 15, 20 years. Even though we had the COVID crash, it was short-lived.
Yeah.
People are like, hey, I got burned a little bit, but the fire was out very quickly.
We ended
I
the
don't
year
worry
up.
about it.
So we always try to give people an opportunity to fix things on their own. And, what can somebody do? Go back to school and become a CPA?
Go become a CPA, go become a tax lawyer. The tax code, we're in a studio right now, could fill this entire studio.
Right, so it's time consuming.
Big time.
What else could they do?
Well, they could reach out to us and they could take advantage of our tax strategy session, folks. And to get that, all you got to do is call us here. The number is 844-944-7555. Again, 844-944-7555. And what we will do is a tax analysis on your overall portfolio and figure out a strategy to allow you to keep more money in your pocket and pay way less to Uncle Sam. And what that does, by the way, Rob, if I can reduce your tax liability in retirement, I can create a portfolio that allows you to take lower risk.
Right.
Right? You don't have to take as much risk at return and live the same lifestyle you wish to live.
You've worked hard for it. Call and get it.
Might as well keep it.
Hey guys, we'll be right back after the break. We've got more good stuff to talk about. Stick with us.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
Welcome to On the Money. I'm Rob Herdig. I'm here with Ryan Wheelis. Ryan, how we doing?
I'm doing well, man. It's a crazy world out there today, Rob. We've got a great show for the great folks at Houston. Folks, stay tuned. Man, we're talking today about inflation.
Yeah.
And it's just, you call it the hidden tax. I call it the hidden tax.
Yeah. People call it the stealth tax.
Stealth tax.
Whatever you want to call it.
It's a tax.
But we didn't vote for it.
No, we didn't vote for it at all. And here's what's crazy is the Fed right now is trying to fight inflation
Yeah.
with raising interest rates.
Yeah.
But nobody's talking about the 8,000-pound gorilla in the room, and that's the supply chain.
Right.
Right. Until we get the supply chain fixed, I believe the Fed can raise rates all they want to, and nothing's going to really happen except more stuff's going to cost more. Right. But the supply chain issues are largely political.
It's intro to business, right?
It
When
really
you have
is.
a limited supply, guess what? Costs go up.
That's exactly right.
Right.
That's exactly right. So, the thing about it is we're seeing the highest inflation rates in the country that we've seen in 40 years. And folks, I think the current print's about 8.8. I think we're about to see go over 9%.
Yeah.
And so the Fed's likely going to raise rates at a rate of 0.75% for the rest of the year, which is it's insane.
There's some people that are talking that the rates have to be raised to the point where they match the inflation rate, right?
That's exactly right.
You think what that does to consumerism. What's that do to your vacations, your credit card bills, going and borrowing for a car or a home? What does that do for that?
Well, it raises the cost of everything.
It raises the
right?
cost of everything.
If your interest rate on your credit card goes from 20% up to 30%, and unfortunately a lot of us out there live paycheck to paycheck,
Right.
we can't do those things. We can't go out and enjoy vacations. We can't travel. We in some cases can't buy gas. We can't buy groceries.
Yeah, what are you giving up? You and I were talking about this, and I think the reason people don't understand the severity of it, when you look at the 100-year average for inflation, it's 3.24%. The last decade was like 2.1, 2.19.
Very low.
So all you had to do, if you were abiding by the 5% rule, which we've talked about a lot in other shows, other segments, and you were taking a 4 or 5% withdrawal from your retirement funds, if you were getting a 7% return, even with inflation, you were still
going up.
Still going up. Now we have 8.9% inflation.
We'll add a 5% distribution rate on top of that. It's 13.9, all right?
What-
Your portfolio needs to be earning 13.9% per year just to keep up with inflation in your expenditures. And on top of that, all right, think about the risk somebody has to take to get a 13.9% average annual return.
Oh my gosh. I think people thought it was easy the last decade, right? We had a 12-year period, 14-year period where the market just went up and up and up. And these people got this false sense of confidence. The do-it-yourselfers did, I think money managers did, financial advisors did. And now we're in this point in history where we have all these things working against us, and inflation's doing a lot of the heavy lifting here.
It really is, and that's not going to change anytime soon. Like I said, until they fix the supply chain, I think the issues remain the same. But folks, the thing about it is, I'm not trying to be doom and gloom with you, because that's not who we are at Allied Wealth. But to that end, a lot of people are stuck in the 60-40, stock and bond portfolio, and the universe of investments that they have are stocks and bonds, right? Well, if you look this year, the greatest performing asset class by a mile is energy stocks. Right, and so you can move money over to energy stocks. You can move money towards commodities. You can move money towards gold. Real estate can do well in an inflationary environment. But so many people are kind of stuck in this pigeonholed, one-size-fits-all portfolio, and the universe of investments doesn't go beyond that stock and bond mix. And so they don't have the ability to allocate to gold, or allocate to commodities, or allocate to energy stocks. And so if you don't have that, folks, and you're feeling the pressure, you might want to reconsider a different approach, and we can offer that for you at Allied Wealth.
You know what's interesting? Like people save all this money for retirement. They have this big nest egg that they've saved, and they look at it as a lump sum, and they don't realize that they have to turn that into what in retirement? Income, right? They only look at it as a lump sum. They don't look at it as an income stream. And the numbers you showed me before the show, at 6% inflation, your income need doubles every, what was it, 12 years? Is that right?
Yep.
And right now we're at 8.9. That's about every 7.
Every 7
so
years.
Explain what that means. So if you need $100,000 a year right now in retirement.
In 7 years, you need $200,000.
So where's that coming from?
It's coming out of your portfolio.
And most people haven't factored in taxes or any market downturns or anything else.
And most advisors have been planning with a very low inflation rate for a very long period of time that hasn't been here. And a lot of people haven't really seen what the long-term impacts their portfolio the impact that inflation can have on their portfolio.
Right.
And folks, if that's you, I can tell you right now, we offer a winning retirement plan strategy session on the show. Take advantage of it. To get it's 844-944-7555, and we will show you the long-term effects of inflation. And what it's going to do is bring down the long-term probability of success of your overall plan. But don't worry, there are things we can do to help mitigate that downside risk, help mitigate the effects of inflation in your portfolio. But if you just put your head in the sand and don't do anything, I promise you, like Rob said a minute ago, your income will double if this rate stays the same, which it very well could for quite some time.
Right.
And you're going to run out of money very, very soon if you don't really have an inflation-adjusted plan.
So the terrifying thing is most people live in retirement. The average person lives in retirement for 18 years, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not uncommon for somebody to live 20, 25, 30 years in retirement. So if your income need doubles in 7 years, let's dumb it down, in 6 years. you can't go to work at that point. You're 78, 79 years old at that point.
You could be a Walmart greeter, maybe.
Right.
But I mean, most of the people that I work with, they didn't work the life, as hard as they did in life to go back to work when they retire, right? And so it's one of those things where you really got to take that into play as you're doing these retirement plans.
Yeah, I think it's important. Get a first opinion, get a second opinion, get a third opinion. If you don't feel comfortable, keep talking to people, right? Get good guidance. You only get one chance at this.
Yeah, and to that end, Rob, the other thing that could happen is, your lifestyle will change, right?
Yeah.
So if your income need is $200,000 a year out of your portfolio, and there's no way your portfolio is going to sustain that,
yeah,
the only thing you can do is what? Go back to work,
right?
Stop drawing money out of your portfolio.
Move in with your kids.
Or reduce your income.
Yeah.
And everybody wants to move in with their kids.
Yeah,
I promise you that.
That's what you work so hard your whole life for.
One of the number one concerns that people have today is running out of money, but running out of money leads them to being a burden on their children, and nobody wants that.
Man, it's really interesting. I see so many people that are willing to put their own financial success on the sideline because their relationship with their financial advisor seems to be more important to them. And to me, you're playing with fire.
I have seen it time and time again. I've been with Bill. We were buddies in the Vietnam War. He's been my guy for 20 or 30 years. He comes to Christmas dinners, that sort of thing. And then what we do is it's okay, come on in and see us. We'll do a portfolio x-ray and let's just make sure that Bill's doing right by you, right? Not that Bill's not a good guy or whatever, but sometimes Bill has a limited menu of products and services he can offer people that walk into the door.
Yeah.
Because he works for a company he works for, not you, the client. Like we do at Allied Wealth for fiduciaries. We work for the clients, right? And we test Bill's portfolio and we find out the risk is too high, the fees are too high, commissions are there, and Bill's got to make a buck. No wrong to Bill. But the reality is the clients are not getting the value they deserve for the money they're spending in that portfolio. They're not getting the returns back. They're taking too much risk, and they will see that, but they'll walk out of the office and just keep on doing what they're doing.
Man, with what's going on in the world right now, I want to reach through the TV screen and shake people and say, man, wake up and go see somebody, get a second opinion. And people, everybody says, hey, this isn't me. It's got to be somebody else they're talking about. It happens to intelligent people that saved a lot of money.
Sure.
My mom, worked for, a big pharmaceutical company for a long time and did really well on her own and saved a lot of money. And when she went to retire, my mom's got higher level degree. She's got a master's degree. She's smart. When she went to retire, you know what she said? This stuff is confusing. It's overwhelming. And I think, there's a lot of smart people that have saved money that feel the exact same way out there. And if you have that feeling, right, you should call in.
Absolutely.
Hey, we're going to break right now. What do we have for people?
Folks, we have a winning retirement plan built for you, customized, tailored for you. What we do is test what you're currently doing, test your current portfolio against your goals, test it against taxes, test it against long-term inflation, and see if we can get your probability of success to maintain a level of 85% all the way through retirement, regardless of what happens with the stock market, the economy, inflation, or interest rates. And to get it is so easy. All you have to do is pick up the phone and call us. It's 844-944-7555. Again, 844-944-7555. I'm the same guy in the office as I am right here on the show. So if you like me here, you'll love me in the office, give us a shout. 844-944-7555. We look forward to seeing you in the office. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back with some more great information for you.
When was the last time you saw your financial professional? Are you getting the most out of the strategy that was created for you? Although you've done a great job finding someone to help plan for your future, are you 100% sure that you were given the right strategy? We can help answer these questions and more with a complimentary second opinion evaluation. We will take a look at what you have in place and then help determine if you're well positioned to get the most out of your future retirement income. In the event that it is not, we can help by making suggestions and showing you how to get on the right path. You wouldn't get just one opinion when it comes to a major health decision, so why would you treat your most important financial decision with such disregard? Call today for your no-cost, no-obligation second opinion evaluation to see if you're getting the most out of your retirement income plan.
Welcome back to On the Money. I'm Rob Hertig, joined here with my friend Ryan Wheelis. How you doing, Ryan?
I'm awesome, man. Great to be here with you. So awesome to be doing these shows because, folks are watching these shows and calling into the show and taking advantage of the offers we give and learning so much about how to better their situation and enjoy the best possible retirement they can with the resources they have to work with.
I think people are scared right now. There's so much going on. I think they're scared. And, I think, you watch the news and you see what's going on. They say the economy's healthy. People know what's really going on. They see the cost at the pump. They see the volatility in the market. And I think I think people are a little bit scared. What's your sentiment
No
on that?
question about it. I mean, you go to the gas station alone and fill up your car right now, and
Yeah.
you know, in Houston, the gas station pumps stop at $85.
Do they really?
Yeah, if you use a credit card, it stops at $85. And I'm like, well, my car needs $100 worth of gas. What do I do?
Yeah,
know?
you get there pretty quickly too, right?
Very
To the $100.
fast. I mean, it doesn't take much at all.
It's funny. So the last segment, you had a fun title. This one you call it "We're Making History." The last one, it seemed positive, but when we dug into it, it was a little bit scary.
For sure.
I assume this one's probably scary too.
Well, yeah, I mean, because we are making new history. I mean, there's so many things that are happening today that haven't happened before.
Yeah.
And an example of that is look at inflation. We're the inflation rate's over 8%. And folks, I got news for you. I think it's going to hit 9% here very soon.
And we don't calculate inflation like we used to prior to
Well,
mid
no,
80s,
'cause
right?
Food costs aren't important,
Right.
I mean, nobody eats food in the U.S. But,
We don't need it.
Yeah, they don't eat it, but I mean, everybody does, right? I mean, everybody's got food in their refrigerator. I mean, I'm
Right.
getting hungry right now. I might want some lunch soon, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's one of those things where we all consume food, and a lot of the things that we all consume are backed out of these inflation numbers. So the reality is the actual inflation numbers you could be experiencing at your dinner table and at the gas pump are actually much higher.
It's crazy. When we were looking at the inflation numbers, they all affect things that we want to do in retirement too, right? The travel,
Absolutely.
the hotels,
Absolutely.
the rental cars.
I mean, it's a tax.
Yeah.
The reality is it's a tax.
So the inflation thing's one thing to get over, one hurdle we have to contend with. But right now we're making history in a bad way, right? With the bond markets, it's the worst start since when?
Since in the last 40 years.
What,
I mean,
1980, 1982, something?
Even before that, I mean, because think about this. You know, we go back to 1978,
Yeah.
and the IRS added the internal to the 401k plan
Yeah.
to the Internal Revenue Code. All right, and what that did is it basically started allowing people to invest in the stock market via payroll deposits. And you had all these dollars chasing these few stocks.
Yeah.
We had a massive melt up in the markets, and the markets returned over 1,000% in that 20-year period. That is 3 times any 20-year period prior. 3 times.
Wow.
All right. And so to that end, what people don't understand is the bond market. And the bond market went up nearly the same rate during that same time period. But here's why people don't understand the bond market, Rob. If you go home tonight and watch the nightly news and you see the yield on the bond market is red or negative,
Yeah.
guess what it means?
It means the opposite of what you think.
You think the bond market's down that day.
Yeah.
When the reality is if the yield goes down, bond values go up.
And tell people what happens to the bonds they're holding at that point.
Well, if you're holding bonds at that point in time and the yield falls, the bond value increases, right?
Yeah.
And so you actually have more value. Here's the way it works. If you've got a bond you paid $1,000 for, it yields 5%, all right, and you hold it for 10 years, well, you'll get your money back in 10 years, and
Yeah.
you'll get 5% per year every single year that you own it, all right? So the way this works when rates go up, go down, when rates go down, is if rates go down to 4% or 3%, the value of your bond goes up.
Yeah, because
right?
it has a higher rate associated with the new ones
That's
being
exactly
issued, right?
And the same thing happens if rates go up, the value of your bond goes down, because if I can get a rate on a bond right now paying 7%,
Yeah.
you got one at 5%, I'm not giving you $1,000.
So now you have to
for
hold
5%.
it for the full term, right?
Absolutely. You got to hold it for the full term.
But that's it's even more difficult because the equities market, right? The stock market's the worst start since the Great Depression. Is that right?
It's been a pretty tumultuous start to the year. Down to I think our lowest drawdown point thus far this year, I think we got more to come, by the way, is about 23%.
So tell people what the problem with this is. Usually there's an inverse relationship between bonds and the equities market, right? So when one's down, you can always run to the other one for safety. What we're experiencing right now is scary, right?
Well, it's really scary because what you have is compression on both sides. So most people are out there in the portfolio that we call the balanced 60-40 portfolio, where you have 60% of your money in the stock market and 40% of your money in the bond market. And what's supposed to happen here, folks, is if the bond market is going down, it usually means the stock market is going up. So the losses you're taking in your bond portfolio are being cushioned by the gains in your stock portfolio. And every single month, you're supposed to rebalance the portfolio with a goal of getting about a 1% return per month.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the challenge with that is what's happened this year, especially why people have lost so much money and lost so much confidence and are having a lot of fear in their minds and in their hearts, is the fact that these two asset classes have correlated this year.
Yeah.
Nearly 100% correlation, which means the bond market's fallen and the stock market's falling, and you've seen your portfolios drop dramatically as a result. Here's what's interesting, Rob. A lot of these folks are paying a financial advisor. Well, if you're paying a financial advisor at home, folks, does it make sense that you're paying this financial advisor to move things around for you when the markets get choppy, yet you're down as much or more than the stock market is currently?
So you could probably tell if you have one of these advisors that is just, doesn't really put a plan together because he's probably telling you what right now? Just stay put, right?
Oh,
but
what
you'll
else
be
are they gonna
fine.
say?
Just hold on.
You
It'll
gotta
come
ride
back.
this thing out. Everybody's down. Everything's down. Hang in there.
What if you don't have time, or what if you're recently retired? Because it's not if you lose money, it's when you lose money that matters, right?
Well, it's a difficult thing to do. I've got people right now that were ready to retire in 2020. They got hit in 2020.
Yeah.
And then they waited 2 years. They just got hit again.
Yeah.
And they're on this vicious cycle of, man, I don't know what to do here.
You know, there's two things I notice. There's everybody is sitting at home is saying they're not talking to me, but explain the prevalence of this strategy, the 60-40 strategy. All these retail shops on every corner across the country use a similar strategy, correct?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's kind of the mantra, folks, is that you're going to go to a retail shop, they're going to be at a strip center, a bank, a commercial building, something like that, and they are salesmen. They're not financial advisors, they're people that sell products. And what they do is put you in this 60-40 portfolio because it's worked so well for so long. And back going from 1978 to the year 2000, for instance, when the market was up so much. And the reality is the world has changed. So much has changed in such a short period of time. For instance, if you look at 1980, the amount of debt the country had was very, very small. Now we're $30 trillion in debt. We had COVID hit. We had all the stimulus coming to the marketplace, all these dollars chasing goods and services. And what's happened is we've had inflation go awry.
Yeah.
So the Fed's fighting inflation, raising rates. That knocks down all the tech companies, which are a large part of the stock market.
Right.
And it is complete dog-bowl chaos. And a lot of people don't know what to do. But here's the thing I tell them, Rob.
Yeah.
If you didn't know how much risk your portfolio was taking or how much you would lose in a major market crash in your current portfolio, you should have known that before you went to the portfolio in the first place.
So we talked about people not knowing. You and I heard a story about another financial advisor, nobody that we do business with, nobody we know, but we heard about the client. And that client had a risk score of what, 24?
24 risk score.
And they lost 70% of their portfolio at age 79 because their financial advisor wasn't plugged in, didn't have a real plan, and they weren't together on what they both thought risk was and what type of risk they were taking on. So what can somebody do to prevent this from happening to themselves? Because it's important, we need to do this.
The most important thing is a portfolio x-ray, folks, and through a portfolio x-ray, what you can do is take a deep dive in your current holdings and know exactly how those holdings would behave in a 2001, 2002 scenario, 08, 09 scenario, 2020 scenario, this year, and you should know those things before you go in. But more importantly, if you're somebody who's down, you're watching the show right now, pick up the phone and call your advisor and ask them if they have an asset recovery plan. They're going to tell you no. So what you need to do next is pick up the phone and call us. 844-944-7555. Again, 844-944-7555. We have an asset recovery plan. We will get you back on the right path, all as part of our portfolio x-ray.